Hello and welcome to Kimboshi Radio, where a Bonsuke is delivered and a Basho is around the corner. Nick, how you feeling?
I am feeling great.
Yeah, mixed feelings. You and I were talking a little bit before the pod started about maybe some injury news, which has us both a little freaked out, I think is where your trepidation comes from.
100%, yes.
Yeah. Neither of us, I mean, we can start getting into it, but like, I'll say this to start it off. We're going to save our picks for Dark Horse Champions and our actual picks to win the thing until the very end. But I think some of the trepidation comes from the fact that Hoshoryu, had to step out last tournament, and so you just never know. The whole storyline leading up into the Nagoya Basho was rivalries. Onosato and Hoshoryu, NHK, the Sumo Dokusalon or whatever, even had made an episode that was all about rivalries throughout history because they were trying to prepare for this Onosato Hoshoryu era. And then it kind of fell apart. But I'm going to be completely honest, like, let's just get into it here. But if we're going to start at the top of the Bonsuke with the Sanyaku and look at storylines, weirdly, last Basho, the two Yokozunas were the story to me. But for me, that's not the case. The story is one of two men. I don't know which way someone wants to slice it. Each person, your mileage will vary. But the story is Wakatakakage's Ozeki push and Aonishiki's Komusubi debut. Do you agree, Nick? Are those the big storylines from the Sanyaku, or am I wrong? Is it Kotosakura still looking for a bounce back? Is it the dueling Yokozunas fully healthy together? Like, what do you think?
I 100% agree. We just don't know with Hoshoryu what's going to happen with I think it's the big toe.
Yep. Luckily, Phil and I did a Bonsuke reaction episode on Labor Day. And so Phil, our friend, is a physical therapist or whatever, so he looks at a lot of these types of bone injuries, not this one specific, but he said that Hoshoryu's team has been doing everything by the book. Like the timelines and when they pulled him out of the tournament was actually a very specific time because it was, if they pulled him out then he could recover and be ready for this tournament at the bare minimum, right? Like, it's this thing where they're like, well, this stage of your recovery is going to be between 2 and 6 weeks. Hoshoryu's team, no surprise, picked 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, I only say that to say, hypothetically, Hoshoryu should be 100%. I don't know.
Yes, with obviously the caveat of there's always a high risk. I think from my understanding of that injury, there's a high risk potentially of re-injury.
Yep. And I think it always goes down to like, how quickly did your bones glue back together? If it was a crack in the toe, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like all these sort of risk factors. If he's healthy, I mean, make no mistake. Like I said, we'll go deep into it at the end, but like the Yokozunas should always be the favorite. If he's healthy, Hoshoryu should be challenging Onosato. But by the way, neither of them got it done last Basho. So there's room for these other storylines. Is that kind of where your head is at?
100%.
Yeah. And speaking of those other storylines, like Wakatakakage injured himself in Jungyo, actually not on the dohyo in Jungo. Supposedly it was an off dohyo injury, but twisted his ankle. But Phil, again, restored some confidence in me saying like, no, it sounds like they're doing all the right things. He's like, because he actually had an interesting point where with that specific injury, with a muscle strain, he's saying, if it's not a tear, he's like, you actually don't want to stop physical activity. You want to keep the physical activity going. Like it's simple biology, like that keeps the blood flow going. Muscle injuries don't heal without blood flow. So that was good because Wakatakakage is on an Ozeki run. And I think this is the best Ozeki run of his entire career. In part because I think the JSA want it. I don't think they like having just Kotosakura there as an Ozeki. They love a balanced Bonsuke. Honestly, so do I. But how likely do you think Wakatakakage's Ozeki push is here, Nick?
So I agree that the JSA wants this, especially with right now, Kotosakura just isn't getting done what they want.
Yeah.
Man, it's so hard to know with Wakatakakage. Like we were saying before the podcast started recording, he's probably going to lose 3 matches in the first week.
Dude.
And then that's almost all he can lose, just going by his typical record.
Yeah, it is his MO. Let's just do a little fun, like going backwards. So, okay. Do you want to do this by the first week of the tournament or just like early records or what? Like, Because he's...
I think we can do it by the first week, because typically his last week is rock solid.
Exactly. That's the thing, is he's a slow starter. Okay, so he went 10-5 last Basho. That is a very good record. But if we look at the first 7 days, he was 3-4, losing record. I'm going to go back and skip May for a specific reason, but we go back to March. He actually lost every match the first 4 days. And so for the first week, he was actually 2-5. That's awful. Finished 9-6. In January, so to start this year, he was 3-4, yet again losing record. That time he did go 7-8, so a little rough. Even November of last year, he starts 4-3, so middling record, then goes 10-5. But now I even want to go back because he was stellar in May. That's where he went 12-3 and got the Juryo. And in his first week, he was actually 6-1. But I do want to point out that his one loss was actually day one. Even when he's great, even when he's great, it's always the slow start. So I just think we can expect a slow start from Wakatakakage, and that's actually kind of a good thing because it's like no alarm bells here. Like, this is what the guy does.
Even the last time he was up at Sekiwake, it was the exact same thing.
Yeah, right. His previous run at Sekiwake, all these things. January of 2023, 3-4 start. November of 2022, 4-3 start. September of that year, 4-3. It's always these middling starts. So I'm gonna play a quick game. Okay, technically, 33 wins and a Yusho gets you Ozeki. That's like the soft rule. It's not necessarily like hard and fast per se. But your Yusho does not have to be within those 3 Basho. So Wakatakakage has already won a Yusho in January of 2024. Or no, that's when he first made his return. His actual Yusho was way back in March of 2022. So that's taken care of, and he's sitting on 22 wins. So 11 wins is a guarantee that he will be an Ozeki. That's all he needs to do. John Gunning for Japan Times was actually on record saying he thinks that because the JSA wants this too, that 10 wins is enough for Wakatakakage to go up. I'm going to play a little how low can we go. Nick, here, we'll start here. At 11 wins, does Wakatakakage become an Ozeki?
100%.
Yeah. At 10 wins, does Wakatakakage become an Ozeki?
That's a good question. He can get 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I think so too. At 9 wins, does Wakatakakage become an Ozeki?
I think at single digits, there's no way.
Okay. Yeah, you think that they would draw a hard and fast line there?
Mm-hmm. I think they'd maybe make an exception for 10.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way they could justify it with single.
Yeah. It's so interesting because make no mistake, like, this is the tournament, if I remember right here, I'll pull it up just to make sure that I've got it here. But I believe it was 2024's Aki Basho, September Basho, where Hirada Umi got frozen. Oh no, it was July, but whatever. Hirada Umi from 10-5 at Komusubi did not make Sekiwake. You know what I mean? So it's like, the JSA will freeze a guy. So I hear you that 9 is probably too far. How well do you think Wakatakakage does in this tournament?
I would bet a solid 10.
Yeah.
That's where that's just where he's typically at.
I like that. Because I when you say that's where he's at, I agree with you insofar as like, I'm like, yeah, I expect him to be a double digit guy. 10 is the number where you're in the running ish for special prizes. Obviously they would like it to be a little more, but I think I agree with you there. And since he's returned, that's kind of who he is in a good way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he's fairly dependable. Sometimes he go a little above, almost never goes negative.
Yeah.
I think he'd be more. I love Kotosakura, but I do think he would be more dependable. That guy's all over the place.
That's interesting. Again, and I just feel confident that Kotosakura has some sort of underlying injury that is just not being talked about. Either because he and his stable don't think it's that big of a deal, but clearly it is. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is just...
I'm a way bigger Kotosakura fan, to be honest, than Wakatakakage. And like you said, until whatever this is that's addressed, I just don't see him.
Yeah, I don't know. Long story short, what I guess I'm trying to say, and it could just be like little middling injuries every now and again. You know what I mean? It could be constant injuries. He's a large man carrying a lot of weight. That could be a problem. He could be having the Takayasu syndrome where he's already developing lower back pains and stuff like that. So in that case, these things are not like unreported injuries. They're not. It's not like some sort of scandal. It's just like the guys have a hard time. So I could also see where you're coming from in that case with Wakatakakage and the consistency because he has a quote that I saw in a Sponichi article where he is talking about how when he came back from injury, he focused more on what he called vertical sumo, right? Like straightforward, not twisting, because that's what's going to re-damage his knee. And it's good. He and his brother Wakamoto Haru both do that. We love the joke about the frog hop, but it works, man. Bail defense and just being stronger than their opponents on the bail is what the Waka brothers do. You mentioned consistency, though, and I want to talk about another Mr. Consistent. Aonishiki at Komusubi. All he does is get 11 wins. Nick, is he getting 11 wins again?
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
right? Yeah.
He's already fought all these people.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's, in my opinion, there is no difference in what you have to do as a Komusubi versus as a Maegashira 1. Like, there is no statistical competitive difference. The only difference is what you have talked about in the past, where we see an Ozeki dip from guys, or the press tour, right? What's happening off the court. Is that bothering him? Is that interrupting his training? I have no idea. But this is all he does. We've only ever seen him get 11 wins. We've talked about he's a freak. He's doing the Onosato dance.
100%. He's doing what Onosato did and what we've seen 17 other people try to do and not even get this far.
Yeah. Yeah. And right. Like all these people with these early, like they look great. We get excited for them and it doesn't happen. Even I know that there was a surgery in it, but Hakuoho had a report where he's talking about how his goals, he's like, no, I'm doing good. I'm on a steady pace for Sanyaku. That's the way young guys should be looking at it, not the way I was pushing for Hakuoho. Because when he was Ochi, I was blown away by what he did. Someone like Takeru Fuji, who screamed up, but then, pushed just a little bit too hard and hurt that ankle, and now had his bicep completely rip and is now not going to be competing this tournament because that thing needs surgery. Who's another one? Atami Fuji is now back up in the Joijin. We saw him just like get to the Joijin and hit an absolute brick wall, whereas Aonishiki, no, the only brick wall is behind him, which is that he finds it impossible to win less than 11 times.
Yeah, and we straight up said last time, we're like, okay, he's going to hit the Sanyaku and just get wrecked because he's never done that. And he didn't. Nope. He beat so many of them.
Yeah. Just for posterity's sake, in July, he beat Kotosakura, Hoshoryu, Wakatakakage, Kirishima. That's huge. He even beat other Joijin challenger types. He beat Oho. He beat Wakamoto Haru. He beat the big old Kimbozan. He beat Abi, who is a constant Sekiwake stalwart. He beat Tamawashi, who has 2 Yushos to his name. Like, these are monster wins. The guy is amazing.
I don't think you can fluke that many in one tournament.
Yeah. What's your prediction? If you think 10 wins for Wakatakakage, which is enough to still get him Ozeki, what do you think from Aonishiki?
I'm expecting another 10 to 11.
Yeah, I know. I could see him step back to 10 only just like happenstance, right? Like maybe one of those tight matches doesn't go his way, then sure. But like we should be expecting double-digit wins from this man. We should be expecting him to be pushing for Ozeki. Technically, he could also get it done this year. If he wins 11 from Komusubi, then in November he's playing for an Ozeki promotion, which is madness.
Yeah. And then our section from January doesn't look totally stupid if one of them can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Shh. Just move on. It's fine. But yeah, you know what though? Let's get down there and talk about some of those Joijin contenders because you're right. They have hilariously like worked their way back into the picture. Some of those contenders, but not gotten there. But before we leave, anyone else you want to talk about? Well, I think we said a little bit on Kotosakura. Spoiler: we're gonna have more to say about Onosato and Hoshoryu later, but those guys are the favorites. Make no mistake. But also like Takayasu is here. Kirishima, he cracked a wrist, but Phil and I were looking, it's his non-dominant hand, his non-throwing hand, so maybe he's okay. Any other thoughts in the Sanyaku before we move on?
No, because my next one I was going to talk about is Tamawashi.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so moving down to the Joijin, I want to talk about Tamawashi because there's this interesting split in the Joijin, which often happens. But so when I hinted at these guys contending, right? Hakuoho, Atami Fuji, Hiradoumi, and Kotoshoho are all in. Oh, and Gonoyama and Oho as well. Those guys are all Joijin, and those were kind of the contenders we were looking at the beginning of the year for like, hey, who can make a push for Ozeki this year? I don't think any of those guys makes Ozeki at this point, but they're doing great. Maybe they end up back in the Sanyaku by the end of the year and stuff like that. But there's this mix in the Joijin where Tamawashi, the just perennial stud, Abi, your boy, is in there in the Joijin. Ichi Yamamoto's mixing it up. Wakamoto Haru, we see him falling off a little bit, but still obviously competing at a great level. But you said you want to talk about Tamawashi. Why?
So one, obviously Tamawashi's amazing, but one of the rings, this has happened before. Apparently, it's not necessarily a big deal, but he backed out of the in between tournaments due to back pain.
Yeah,
and he's 40.
Yeah, I know, and we see it Takayasu did as well, and Takayasu only rejoined very late for the very last like 3 dates of the Jungyo, the tour, or something like that. And for Takayasu, it's the same thing. It's back pain, and like you're saying, these guys are not. I don't think these are on dohyo injury. These are old men being old. These are guys who've done combat. Yeah, exactly.
And I saw in there, somebody was talking about he had done this a couple of years ago, came back, no problem. But I'm like, but 2 years in this sport is a lot.
I know. And we've seen him at the top get blasted sometimes, not because he can't compete, but because with the top of the Bansuke these days, there's no room to slip, right?
No, and he's never missed a tournament, which is just truly incredible. But I also think there's the additional pressure of, I think there's only 3 other people in his stable.
Yeah, they might be expanding right now, but I don't know that for a fact.
When one of them is in Juryo, so he's the only real earner in the entire group.
Yeah, and he's a stud, and obviously they're fine, but like, and you know what? There's pressure to compete, like you said, but also he's a freak, so he's always going to compete. That's not a problem. But we've seen in recent memory here, in May, he was 6-9, sandwiched between 2 double-digit tournaments at 10-5, and then obviously he's coming right off of an 11-4. That kind of sounds like Takayasu to me, you know, like this idea of like, you're hurt, you compete anyway, it doesn't go great, okay, whatever, pack up shop, let's come back next time. How do you see this playing out for Tamawashi?
I'm lowering my expectations from him. Like, I know he just came off a ridiculous tournament. I'm hoping he hits 8.
Okay, yeah.
I'm tempering it because of the potential injury, and I know he's going to fight through it.
Yeah.
I'm shooting for him, hoping 8.
Yeah. I think that's fine if he. I mean, if we go back, remember that stretch where he was constantly 7-8, but actually, like here, let me find this. So he had an abysmal September of 2023 where he went 2-13. But allow me to read off. Then his next tournaments went 9-6, 8-7, 7-8, 7-8, 7-8, 7-8, 8-7, 9-6, 10-5. Like, it's hilarious the consistency of this man. The like slowly, it's like, okay, let's just hang out, and then okay, we hit gear again. Let's get back into it. I also feel like there's nothing to gain from it. It just like doesn't matter. His legacy is secure no matter what, is what I mean by that. Like, maybe he wins another Yusho, but at 40, I don't think he cares about ever making Ozeki in his career. He would take it if it happened, but I don't know that he cares.
No, I think you're right. I mean, November of 1984 he was born. So he's almost, 41?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Like, he has arguably the most successful record, being at like 20 plus years of never missing a single tournament. Everybody knows him. He's solid. I think he's just going to go with it.
Yeah. So if you think it's a step back from him, which of these Joijin do you think is going to like ball out then? I mean, it could be multiples of them, but I'll run through this real quick for the audio only listeners. But M1 is Tamawashi and Abi. M2 is Hakuoho and Oho. M3 is Atami Fuji and Gonoyama. M4 is Hiradoumi and Wakamoto Haru. And M5 is Kotoshoho and Ichi Yamamoto. So the strong Joijin is 1-3. Technically, you can stretch that to 4 and 5 as well. Who do you think is going to have the best performance out of these guys?
I know I'm biased because I say it every time, but I think looking at 1-5, Abi's going to put these people through the dry. He's just going to be spinning these dudes around.
I think you're right. I don't know how Abi will do against the Sanyaku simply because they're so good and they fought him so many times, but he can obviously beat anyone in the Sanyaku. But looking at the
I
guys,
don't want to.
uh-huh.
I'm sorry. I don't want to discount Wakamoto Haru though, because he has proven that he is potentially a Sekiwake level fighter.
Yeah.
He's maybe the other surprise that I would look at.
Wow. Okay, so you're very veteran heavy. That Tamawashi is the one that drew your eye, and that Abi. First of all, I think you're right. If we were trying to play smart money with like Oho, of those guys, I actually think Oho is the best Rikishi, in my opinion.
Mm.
But Oho is so capable of a 7 and 8, of like a 7 and 8 with wins against Hoshoryu and Onosato. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's frustrating.
Yes.
So I'm not taking Oho. I'm not doing it. Whereas Abi, I just like, we see him do it all the time. We call him the dream killer or whatever. He's probably gonna go 9 and 6 is probably what happens. But nobody is surprised if Abi goes 12 and 3 because he's beaten all these guys.
He spent half the time at Megashira 1 and the other half he's at Sekiwake.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right.
But he's like you said, he's going to go 9 and 6, but he's going to break everybody else's chances at winning.
It's
Just
great.
drag him down.
Yeah, it's great. And Wakamoto Haru, like you said, he's stellar. I don't know what's going on. I think we're watching him age out, and we're watching him age out gracefully. And that doesn't mean I think he's going to disappear. What I'm saying is people like Tamawashi, and honestly, at this point, I throw Takayasu in here to see the level he's competing at this age. But like, those guys are freaks. When you're above 35 and you're fighting at Yusho level, that's insane. We should never expect that from anyone. Those guys are freaks. So to see someone like Wakamoto Haru, who at this point in his career is at 31 years old, like, yeah, this is where this is supposed to start to kind of decline. Like, he's supposed to still be fighting in the Joijin and then kind of sliding down to being a mid Maegashira and then still being a Maegashira. Like, that's what we've seen previously from guys who were Sekiwake, like Sanyaku grade, Aoyama, seeing guys like, they slide down the Bansuke. So I'm wondering if that's what's starting to happen with Wakamoto Haru here. But I don't know. It's not done yet. 31 is still young, to be honest. It's just that it's near the end of that. And I feel like, though, before we leave the Joijin section, Kotoshoho, I already know how you feel, but talk me through this at M5.
Man, I was so wrong about him last time.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not even gonna count him. Like I don't look at him. And then he murdered everybody.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't think he'll do it again, but it's not like his last half was easy.
No, and honestly, that's the guy Kotoshoho should have been when he came up. He was the young guy. He was the Onosato of his day, and everyone had incredibly high expectations of him. So this was kind of him just like performing at the level he was always supposed to perform at in September. If you had asked someone in January of 2020, when he's still making his way up, where do you expect Kotoshoho to be in 5 years? You would have said this. You would have said, yeah, no, he's like a Sanyaku who has probably won a Yusho and is maybe pushing for Ozeki. The only thing is, to say that is to disregard his 2023, 2024, you know what I mean? Which were not good.
Yes.
But it's crazy because at only 26 years old, he is a veteran. He shouldn't be scared of any of these guys. But I am with you. At some point, we have to respect the weight of numbers, and you can't expect Kotoshoho from one great tournament to just be this guy. If he does that, that's insane in a good way, but I don't know.
I don't think he will, but I hope so. That'd
Yeah.
be super. I'd be pumped to be wrong about that one.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, we can't, we just talked about how Aonishiki, there's no reason for him to be scared at Komusubi because he's basically fighting the same schedule he just fought. Kotoshoho is not. Kotoshoho is fighting a very different schedule. His first week of the tournament last time was against a Maegashira 15, 17, 14, 14, 16, 16, 11. And then even day 8, he fought an M13. Like, fighting all double-digit Maegashiras for a week and then mixing it up. I will not take away from him the fact that he went up against a Komusubi Takayasu in good form and beat him. He went up against a Yokozuna Onosato and beat him. He went up against a Sekiwake Kirishima and beat him, and went up against that M1 Aonishiki and beat him. Like, you can't take those things away. I'm just saying, it looks different when you have to do it for 15 days instead of for 5.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
Yeah. What about, so the middle Maegashiras is sometimes where we can get these upset contenders that slide in. So that like M6 to M. We'll just call it M12, but if you want to dip to 13, you can, but we can also call those the low Maegashiras, but mid Maegashiras, so M6 to M12. Who in here are you excited about and think could make a surprise run? Because there are some names in here. You and I were just doing some research. We think Daieisho is probably going to give it a go. Same as we were talking about Hoshoryu's team, even though he had a ruptured calf, supposedly, like, technically he's now done the bare minimum recovery for it, so he should be able to come back. He reportedly has said, I think it was Nikon Sports, but he said he feels no pain in the calf. So I'm like, okay, well, Daieisho at M10 should clean house if he's healthy, but also Kusano's at M6, which I think is not his ceiling. We've got Oshoma, who fell down from Komusubi and is now at M7. Smiley Boy Takanosho's at M7, and he was a stud. He lost, was it this tournament last year? Was it September last year when he lost in a playoff to Teruno Fuji?
Ooh,
I
yes.
think so. Yeah.
I think.
Let's see. Takanosho in
Him an 11 forward.
Yeah, is that right? I don't know. It was either this or the July tournament, but around I think it was this tournament that Takanosho. Nope, I'm very wrong. He got blasted in September of last year. Must have been July or something. Whatever.
Yeah, it was either July or November.
Yeah. Okay, so what was the other one I was gonna say? Oh, Kimbozan! Your boy Kimbozan is here at Maegashira 8. Who do you think is a good surprise contender out of this mix, Nick?
Even if he's at 80%, and this is not a surprise, Daieisho should absolutely obliterate everybody around him.
He's so
The only people who should realistically be beating him more than out of like a one-time fluke is the Sanyaku.
Yeah. You're right. He was a Sekiwake pushing for Ozeki when that injury stole the last Basho for him. So you and I have constantly talked about him as a guy who's Ozeki grade. He's overqualified as a Sekiwake. So I agree with you. If his doctors are telling the truth, which he probably should have a pretty fancy medical team and should have all the rehab chances available to him, this is not his rank. He should feast against these guys. Even the likes of Kusano, he should feast upon if he's healthy.
Yes. Yeah, because Kusano just doesn't have the level of experience that Daieisho has.
Yeah. Right. And just like we've talked about it before, but it's Abi too or whatever. Now Abi has more like 2, 3, 4 tricks or whatever. It's just that his one trick is far and away his best, like the Nodowa going straight to the throat for the heavy Tsupari. Like his arms are so long, he's got the perfect body for his style. But Daieisho is also an Oshidashi man, but like his is just muscly blows, man. The weight he puts behind those hits, like, I mean, I see Shodai right underneath him at M11, and we've already seen it. Like, Shodai's a heavyweight himself. He is a great fighter. Shodai don't want no part of that. Shodai don't want none of that. No one here wants any part of that.
No, which is funny that we were just talking about like, oh, Daieisho's Ozeki grade, all these things, but he never quite made it. And there's 2 former Ozeki right below him, and we're barely talking about them, and we'll continue to probably barely talk about them.
That's so interesting, dude. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, Takeyumi at 12 and Shodai at 11. 2 actual Ozekis. And dude, if you're watching this, like, let us know down in the comments below, like, who do you pick? Whose career do you pick out of those 3? Daieisho, Shodai, Takeyumi. I know. Okay, that's unfair. If I say career, you take Takeyumi. But like those guys looking right now, I don't know, man. In a single match, that's what I should say. Not who your career, but in a single match at their best, I think it's Daieisho. I think his 100%. And I know Takeyumi in like 2020, 2021 was an absolute monster. But Daieisho is another story.
Daieisho is a long time killer.
Yeah. He's the best. I don't know. He's probably, I don't know. I think you and I are going to disagree here. At least I hope we do. But like oh my God, with Takakeisho gone, I just like his Oshidashi is the best. And I say we're going to disagree because I know you're an Abi man, but it's just stellar.
Daieisho's built. Abi his body doesn't make as much sense just because he's got those long little noodle arms. Daieisho's like built for it.
Yep.
But Yeah, but he doesn't have the 12-foot arms.
Exactly. He has not got those. Abi, again, we've talked about Abi is the perfect body for it, and it's why Ichi Yamamoto has succeeded with that style as well. And why it's funny that it's yet another layer to why I love the fact that Ichi Yamamoto hams up this like I'm Wakatakakage's #1 fan. I'm sure he does love him, but it's like you'd think if he were looking for someone's career to idolize and emulate, it'd be Abi because they just like have the same body. Um, what about okay, so I love that. I think you're right. If someone is going to be a surprise contender out of there, Daieisho's the pick. But now the true surprise is where someone can truly feast. Traditionally, this has been, well, frankly, last Basho it was Kusano, right? So M13 to M18 in this case, because we have an extra grid rung for Shishi this time. But who is who is the most likely to come out of the M13s to 18s for you? So we've got Meisei who's dropped down here, but his lower back is not healthy. I mean, he's gonna compete, that's fine, but he's not 100% in my opinion. Sadanumi, the sad man, Tobizaru has dropped all the way down here. Tomokaze is back, the Narutobeya headman. Ryunin is back and fighting here. Shishi somehow survives at M18. Hitoshi's the only newcomer here, so we're really not gonna see what we saw from Kusano last time. Nishikigi's back, Shononoumi's back. Asakoryu has dropped down to an area where maybe he competes more aggressively, and Toki Hayate is here. Who do you think is going to perform the best out of these bottom rung guys, Nick?
I wish it was Nishikigi. I don't see it there. I think it'd probably be Tobizaru. Just because he does dip down periodically, and then he's such a weird fighter that a lot of these guys are going to struggle against him.
You're spot on. Tobizaru was the guy I was looking at as well, and maybe considering Sadanumi, because Sadanumi actually is it's so funny how he gets no plaudits because he's just slightly younger than Tamawashi. So even though he's 38, going on 39, he can't get those plaudits. And he like stays more healthy than Takayasu, who's actually younger than him. He's anyway, whatever. No, I don't need to talk. I'll talk about Sadanumi later. Tobizaru is the guy, in my opinion. Like fighting down this low after a guy who really, we see him bounce off of Komusubi a lot, but he's there a lot because he's a Joijin guy. And for him to be fighting this low is a little ridiculous. Man, he has not been in double digits. I'm scrolling through Sumo database right now. Oh my gosh. He has not been Maegashira 14. And in fact, he was Maegashira 14 specifically, but has not been in the teens, has not been a double-digit ranked Bakuuchi fighter since September, this time 2020. It has been 5 years. And in that tournament, he went 11-4 and got a Kotoshoho.
I could see that happening again.
I could see it happening again. This is not where Tobizaru belongs. As long as he's healthy, because he did get injured at the very end of last Basho. As long as he's healthy, he should crush it here. Anyone else you want to talk about down here?
Honestly, no. The rest of them, I think, they're where they should be.
Yeah, and it's tough. I was talking with Sean, my buddy who's on the show with us as well, about Asakoryu, and I was talking to Phil about him, and it's a little worrisome because he has been at this rank and done poorly before. Like, he has 6 and 9 at M14s. So I don't know. It's like I want to make the argument that for Asakoryu, dropping down here is his chance to bounce back. But in March at M16, he went 6 and 9. So I don't know. I'm worried about it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Nope, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Okay. How about here? Moment of truth. We're gonna start with dark horse picks. Who is, do you want to talk about Juryo? I can do a little like Juryo review if you want. It's weird because Juryo is like stocked with familiar faces is kind of where it is right now. The guy to look for if you're looking for an up and comer to burst onto the scene is Mita, who just won the last Basho. If you watch the Sumo Food channel on YouTube, he's in Roga's stable, but he is the rising star of that stable by far. He's up to J4. So really, I'd expect him, even if he doesn't win the Juryo Yusho. But otherwise, like the guys down there are Nishiki Fuji, our boy, was doing great until he got hurt. He was like 9-1 or something ridiculous. So that's another good story. But it's like Endo's down there, Kagayaki's down there, Koto Eiho just dropped down. I expect him to contend for a title. Dai Seizon has been fighting for his Makuuchi debut and looks like he'll finally get it because he's at J1. Chio Shoma is there. Fujiseiun Oshoma. It's like familiar faces. It's not, other than Mita and Asakoryu's little brother, who's fighting under Ishizaki, is now in Juryo at J12. But that's the guy I would really look for if you wanted to follow Juryo. Any stories in Juryo you want to talk about, Nick?
Other than the fact that I totally forgot about Taka Refuji, and I just noticed he's down there. I forgot about him. And Asanoyama's still fighting?
Yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Asanoyama has returned to Juryo. That's a good story. Maybe he can contend for that Juryo title on his way back up. I'm gonna let you know though, from what I've seen of him, when he was coming back up last time, I was like, oh my gosh, his Tachiai is still so explosive. After this knee injury and surgery, his Tachiai is not as explosive as it used to be. That bums me out, but that was his biggest asset to me, is how much weight he carried and how quickly he could crash it into his opponent. He was always putting his opponents off balance, and that's how he was getting wins. He's a great belt grappler as well, but to me, it was his Tachiais, and that weapon seems to be muted. It's still elite for a Juryo level. I'm not sure if it's elite for a Makuuchi level anymore. I mean, you can't blame the guy. His knee exploded.
That was a really ugly injury.
It was. I hated it. I hated it very much. But I'm still rooting for him. And what I'm rooting for with Asanoyama, what I really hope is if he crushes Juryo, gets into Makuuchi, but is in M17, 16, 15, then maybe he can be the guy in November who feasts on low rankers, gets to like a 10-2 record, and just needs to get across the finish line in the last few days and steal a Yusho. That's what I'd be rooting for. Okay, but now, Makuuchi, your dark horse pick to win this thing. Who you got?
Oh, this is, injury aside, I think this is Daieisho's tournament.
Wow. Okay, yeah, give it to me. So tell me why you're willing to talk yourself into that with the injury concerns.
So the injury concern, it's like if his calf blows out, he's done.
Yeah, yeah. If he tears it again,
like you're potentially out permanently. I don't know how bad it is, but like nobody, he's at Megashira 10. There's nobody below him that should be able to beat him, and there's nobody, I don't think, truthfully, who could consistently beat him until you get to like Megashira 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think he steamrolls everybody else.
Even Megashira 1 and 2, like, we've seen him in...
Even that's tough.
Yeah, like, Hakuoho and Oho, I think I would say Megashira 1, and that's just because they've all fought each other so many times. Abi and Tamawashi, like, he can beat all those guys. And he's not going to have to fight all those guys. He's going to have some matches against your Toki Hayates. He's going to get to fight, you know what I mean, lower rankers. He's got Churanoumi directly across from him, who's great, but, like, Churanoumi is no Daieisho.
His last 5 days will be tough, but I think he's going to clear the first 10 very easily.
Yeah. I love that pick. And so, to be honest, I think you're right. If any dark horse is doing it, it's him. I'm going to go back to the well of last Basho's debutantes. And I feel a little weird about this, but I loved the violence I saw from Fujinokawa, as in, like, not that I want to see someone be very aggressive in her, but I loved the reckless abandon. He's a small dude, and he absolutely puts every ounce into every match. And he really won me over. I loved him as Wakatakage, but I was worried about his height, thinking maybe he'd need a few Basho to add some weight. But in a tournament where we have Kusano at M6, I think we started to see Kusano's ceiling. I don't think Kusano's the kind of guy that we're like, well, obviously we're just killing time until he becomes Ozeki. I think Kusano's going to have a tougher road to hoe than that, and he's still going to be good. Don't get me wrong, he's still on pace for Sanyaku, but if we're looking at someone who's going to have wiggle room to get some of those soft wins to become a dark horse contender, Kusano, we talked about how good the M1 through M5 is. I think M1 through M5 is already at Kusano's level. I could see him going 8 and 7 from Maegashiras 6 simply because of how good the guys around him are. But Fujinokawa is a guy who I think still has some people around him that he could steal wins off of. Like, I can see him catching Shodai and Mitakeumi by surprise and grabbing wins off of them. I could see him grabbing Kinbozan and Oshoma by surprise and getting wins off of them. There are guys in his range. I would take Fujinokawa as the guy that I think could maybe do something surprising, push for a special prize, and maybe compete for the Yusho. That's my shocker, but for the record, your pick is way better.
I mean, I think I took the boring one, the easy one.
Oh, it's not boring or easy. He's coming off that injury. Give yourself some credit, man. It's a good pick, and for dark horses as well. Now, you want to talk boring? Who you got for your favorite?
Oh, I don't know. Man, it's tough. I want to say Onosato.
Yeah, I'm not taking Hoshoryu this time. I want to see it again. It's Onosato for me as well.
100%. Like, even if after coming off like the big hangover, like, oh, you just got promoted to Yokozuna, he still got 11-4.
Yep.
And now he's just laser focused and probably embarrassed that he only went 11-4, which is still good.
Yeah, he's a monster. I'm actually more waiting to see if Aonishiki develops into a permanent rival for him. I don't know if that'll happen, but like, yeah, he's so consistent. He's so big and so strong. When he loses, it's when he decides to walk backwards, and he even wins sometimes there. Like, he'll be like, well, I'm in a kind of bad position, but I could probably win from here. But if I take a step back, I bet I could reposition and get into a dominant position. But then someone will take advantage of that and like really get inside and give him a shove. And he's like, whoa, no, you did that. Like, he's one of those guys who's so good that he can be caught by surprise because like he's so used to always being better than everybody. But that's just the thing. He's better than everybody. He should be the favorite. He is the gold standard. He's the Kinboshi everyone should be hunting for this time, and he's proven that he can give them up. But he's got to be the favorite.
100%.
What do you think his record is? Do you think so? I think he wins this Yusho. Do you think he does it at like a 12 winner where there's lots of guys kind of in contention and it goes to the end, maybe in a playoff? Do you think it's 13 where everyone was in contention, but then he gets it done on the final day, no playoff? Or do you think it's a 14-15 dominant performance, keeping in mind he has never Zensho Yusho?
I'm not going to go 14-15. I'm really torn between 12 or 13.
Okay, yeah. I think 13 is more likely, but you break it down.
That's kind of
for
where
me.
I'm leaning, but
yeah.
I think that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, I think as in like he gets it done in regulation, not OT. That's basically what my differentiator between a 12 and a 13. Not that you can win outright at 12. I just think a lot of times at 12, that means you're saying other guys were contending for this. At 13, you're saying, no, this was my Yusho. I just used every second on the clock to get it done.
Yeah, everybody else is just trailing for second.
Yep, I agree. So I think it's Onosato. And I think that we have lots of exciting storylines, even though it's Onosato, and the chase is going to be fun. I'm excited to see if Hoshoryu bounces back, but as you said, this is an injury that can be re-injured. So I'm not saying he hasn't done everything right for the recovery, and I'm not saying he should be sitting this Basho out. I'm just saying I'm worried because one little thing going wrong, and we're right back where we were in July.
Yeah, he just has a higher risk for things collapsing, like outside of his control.
Agreed. Other than that, anything else you wanted to say about this Basho?
Nope.
Nah, same here. Looking forward to it. Aonishiki, prove us wrong yet again and win the Yusho. Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you again soon.